David Kirk from the University of Oxford did individual studies, and they pulled more massive amounts of data from larger cities that I guess where Uber was really relevant. And they found that there wasn't really a noticeable impact on the number of drunk driving fatalities in correlation to Uber. And then they listed some reasons why there might not have been this strong correlation between the two, which includes that Ubers may be an alternative to taxis or public transportation, but not so much to people who, I guess, drove and then were drinking. So if you already had it in your mind that you were going to take a taxi because you knew you'd be drinking, Uber was a substitute for that, but it didn't really substitute for leaving your car somewhere and you bring home. And then even though there are 121 million incidences of drunk driving, only 1.1 million people are arrested for it. So I guess it's kind of the same mentality of the people that drunk drive and think they won't get caught. Uber hasn't really helped decrease that at all, because I guess it's just such a difference. So people still kind of think like they can get away with it and don't have to use Uber. And then this was more relevant in the suburbs compared to the cities, but the actual number of Uber drivers is still too small to make a dent in the drunk driving fatalities, because there is so many people that drunk drive per year. Uber is still kind of growing, with there's only a couple 100,000 drivers on the road at any certain time. It's kind of not strong enough of a presence to really make a difference in the massive amount of drunk driving that happens. One thing that they did note, though, was that it's important to keep reviewing these findings as Uber, since this data was pulled, I think, from like 2012 to 2016, and that's kind of when Uber has just been taking off. Like, I know I didn't start using it until like 2014, so they just want to keep, like, I guess, going through that data again and seeing how that'll change as Uber becomes even more relevant.
But that basically says that there's no effect. Right?
Yeah, it says that they haven't been able to find a strong enough correlation between the two to really say that it's been helping.
Yes, so there's no effect. So earlier, I thought you said that Uber has reduced drunk driving.
Well, it's like, not an argument, but it's kind of something that they're still figuring out. So it depends on, I guess, like where you pull the data from, how much you're pulling. Because the MAD statistics, I think, were a little bit more.
No, MAD statistics are just self-reports, so
Yeah.
there's no such a statistical.
Mhm.
In fact, in this study, which seems to actually look at the data as of now, basically found no effect.
I would say no effect. It's just not.
Not significant.
Yeah, so I said,
Yeah.
okay, there's no effect.
It's hard to say that they definitely.
Did they
reduce
give
drunk
number
driving
like
still.
alpha or p number, in the statistics? Because it may not be statistically significant within this criteria. It may become statistically significant if we relax. You familiar with how they do statistical?
Yeah, I mean, there might be indications and so on, but whatever level they set.
Yeah,
based
that's
on
what
that
I'm
level,
asking.
then
If
there
they
was no
change the
effect,
alpha, let's say if it was 0.05, that means 95% confidence that it was significant. But then they may change that number.
That's a good point.
Then then they say, okay, in a few years, it will show up. But that's statistical.
Anyway, continue.
Makes sense to reduce it. You expect it to reduce
So
it.
to
Your
agree.
common sense would say, because I look at my kids, now they use more Uber, and they don't have a good reason why they should drive if they were in a party. But I guess as to your comment, I think it's valid. If the number of people driving without not using Uber, if that ratio changes, then you expect to see.
But that's also true mostly in cities, I would
Yeah.
think, that you wouldn't have as many Uber drivers in rural areas, for example. So even if you go into the suburbs of Philadelphia or,
Right.
into New Jersey, you wouldn't find an Uber immediately. But in a city, you would definitely have a lot more Uber drivers that are available. So that's probably why there's a discrepancy in the numbers, that you don't normally use an Uber in the
But
outskirts.
also drunk driving accidents, where does it happen most?
In
I
the
don't know, is it
outskirts.
in the cities or in
I
the?
think it'd be more in the outskirts, because that's when people
That's
doze
the rich
off
kids live
behind the
there.
wheel.
Or is it more?
The rich kids live in the suburbs.
But
I'm
the
kidding.
counter argument is that
I'm kidding. But like also for the rural areas, you don't even have taxis out there,
Correct.
right? So like you probably have more of a
Over-
chance of getting Uber versus a taxi in like Fox Chase or
So yeah, I'm just kind of
East.
wary of these, well, especially if there's no effect, because my assumption is that if you have more Uber drivers, you're going to have more accidents, right? So there's going to be more death anyway. So it's going to be all
Well,
wash.
but the number of people who are going from point A to B has not changed, has it?
Yeah, it is, because
It has,
these people who are driving these people, instead of my driving home, I'm picking all these people, driving somewhere else, this person somewhere else, this person somewhere else, and so on, right? So there's much more of,
It's more
I'm
convenient.
not sure, you might be right, but
There's more congestion, but I don't know if you can make that correlation between more drivers to more accidents, because, I don't know, I could be going to work and I could be
there will be more accidents. we have more
I'm not
drivers,
sure
that's
even
just-
I could be rushing to work and
I'm
trying
not
to
sure
get there,
he's
so I could
right
be
that
driving
there
more
are more
dangerously. The
drivers.
Uber driver's not gonna care if I get to work.
if
I don't
one
know.
Uber car
Always,
takes 50
always.
kids, why there
We
would
can't
be
get through
more
a single
drivers?
There's more
presentation.
driving.
I'm not sure, because you have to look at all the.
That makes no sense at all, because if I'm an Uber driver, before I drive with Uber, I would just drive home, school, and so on. But if I'm an Uber driver, I'm picking up people on my sort of time that we have to drive.
That may otherwise take subway or some other form of transportation, yeah.
So
I'm not
this
sure.
debate shows some standard is definitely required.
Especially in terms of data collection and data presentation, so.
So we'll talk a little bit about the automobile insurance side of it. According to the Federal Code of Regulations, motor carriers of passenger size 15 or less are required a certain minimum amount of liability insurance. Uber does not provide these for their quote-unquote employees because they don't see the drivers as employees of the company, because Uber claims they are a tech company of freelance independent drivers. The drivers are not strictly directly employees. So the personal insurance does not cover the drivers either, because they're driving for hire, which is an exclusion in almost every policy. Some companies like Geico and State Farm are providing supplementary policies that Uber drivers can purchase to cover the gap, but that just throws the cost onto the driver who's already paying for a lot of other stuff. So this is an illustration of the timeline of insurance coverage over through just one trip. So in the beginning, when you have your app off as a driver, your policy is covering you because you're not driving for hire. As soon as you turn it on, your personal insurance is now no longer covering you. It used to be that Uber didn't even cover you at this stage either, but there was a lot of legal action taken against them. So they have now this low level of insurance covering you before you have found a person for a trip. It's still below the minimum requirement, and then when you accept the trip, this new level of insurance is a little higher, kicks in, and that's still a little bit under the minimum requirement of the Federal Code of Regulations. Uber definitely, I don't think we're going to see it die down anytime soon. They're investing in their future as a tech company. Recently, we've just seen their artificial intelligence lab, 15 members of which are working in San Francisco. They're investing in a lot of research in artificial intelligence too. Those are kind of linked together. The applications for artificial intelligence for Uber include optimizing Uber pool matches, which is where you can ride with a stranger basically that's going in the same route as you to save money. Determining better routes based on traffic and multiple variables. And then artificial intelligence really is also the key to AV, automated vehicles, driverless cars, smart cars. The field of artificial intelligence, while many people think it's new, it's not new, but it's definitely not very standardized, mainly because the definition of artificial intelligence itself is a very broad one, and many people hold different definitions based on the problem that they're working with. So it's a problem-specific definition, really. The benefits, if standardization came to artificial intelligence, would include the speed of development, because researchers could compare their data to each other more on the same standard. The consumer confidence would increase, because most consumers aren't going to know exactly how the artificial intelligence works, so they would actually be able to compare two different types of artificial intelligence. And the communication in artificial intelligence within just a self-driving car, there's a lot of internal components, so making sure all of those communicate correctly. There's V2V, which is vehicle-to-vehicle communication, which obviously if two cars are communicating, they need to speak the same language. And then there's V2X, which is vehicle to infrastructure or vehicle to some other variable. So there's a lot of communication. This is just a picture of one of the prototypes. And
Is that a car that drives by itself?
yeah,
That's
There's
like a
people
Google,
that-
like a Google car?
yeah, there's Google, Tesla, Honda, they're all trying the
So
same
it
thing.
really looks like that?
It's a prototype, yeah, this isn't at market yet, but
That's the sensor.
No, I know, I haven't seen the Google car. Because I thought
This is the
that
Uber
the
car.
sensor will not be this visible, but they are.
It's about like that, and
It's
Google is suing Uber right now.
For that?
For
that.
copying, yeah.
So the U.S. Department of Transportation has actually made a regulation, or made a standard into a regulation that any manufacturer needs to describe and identify the level of automation of a vehicle. So it goes from 0 to 5, 0 being no automation, and then obviously it just increases from there. After 3, you're getting basically the driver doesn't have to monitor the environment, but